I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on GBN, we're diving into a wonderful book, an empowering book. It is called How to Create Your Most Successful Year Ever. It is written by a terrific author by the name of Gwyneth Wint. It is an empowering guide to unlocking your true potential and turning dreams into reality. More than a journal, this interactive book helps readers explore their goals, shift limiting beliefs, and take bold steps towards personal transformation. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her on TV today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below this interview. Gwyneth, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Oh, I'm glad to be here, Logan. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Your book is so
Yeah.
insightful. Um, what's the first step to creating your most successful year ever, would you say?
I think the first thing is really for us to step out of our own way. Our biggest dreams are going to start with us. And a lot of the time, we feel that intense pressure that something's got to change. And we want to stay comfortable. We want to stay in our comfort zone. And I think the first thing is recognizing that, that little voice that tells you to do something and you keep finding reasons not to. So it's first of all acknowledging that voice, and secondly being ready and willing to step into something that you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Voice that tells you no
Yeah,
when you should be saying yes, that tells you to stop when you
yeah,
should be
yeah.
accelerating. Fear, anxiety, are those voices that you need to discount and push out of your way?
I am going to say rather than I would say not push them out of the way, but acknowledge them. If you don't recognize they're there, they're still going to interfere with you. But if you don't know, we can make all kinds of reasons and give ourselves all kinds of reasons not to get started. And we think that fear is, we believe it. So once you can recognize it, then you can know then to say, do something else, so you feel the fear, like, the book Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. It's that
Mhm.
thing. Those little voices are still there, whether you hearing them, listening to them or not. And it's turning the story upside down, finding a way to switch the story around. So rather than telling yourself that you're no good at something, but the fact is, if you can live in and breathe in, if you have a little bit of a brain power, you can learn something new. Giving ourselves the time to learn a new skill and to recognize it doesn't happen overnight. Giving ourselves time, I'd say.
Exactly. Give yourself time, be patient
Mm.
with yourself, but don't procrastinate. If you
Right.
feel like you're pushing it off for too long, I'd say trudge ahead
Mm.
because the best decisions I've made in my life have been me pushing fear aside, acknowledging it, like you say. But you have to look at that fear. Is it a real fear? Is it a real
Mm.
concern? Is it
Yeah.
something that truly is something that must be evaluated before I move forward? Or is it just irrational fear? Let me ask you this. Self-awareness is a big part of your book. Why is it so important in achieving one's goals?
If you're not aware of yourself, sometimes we kind of get in automatic pilot. We're taught things, we have maybe criticized, been put down, and it can help you to stay in place. You might believe those things. So if you're not aware of it, you can't change it. You can't change what you're not aware of. So you've got to be aware of it. So I think self-awareness is vitally important. And it takes time to develop that. And it takes a willingness to develop it.
You
And
have
I'm
to be
glad you
aware
asked
of
me that
what you
question.
want, what kind of
Can
life
I
and what
say,
success is for you, right?
yeah, I'm glad you asked me that question, what you said, because I was going to ask you the same thing. I'm glad you kind of emphasized how important it was to just keep moving ahead, to
Yeah.
hear those things, hear those voices and keep moving. It's so important. It's the first step. So this is like a beginner's guide for anyone who's achieved any success will experience that resistance. It's like walking through quicksand. I mean, I'm sure yourself, Logan, I'm sure in your career, you must have felt those same things that everybody else is feeling. And people think something wrong with them. No, we all feel it.
Oh,
What
yeah.
do you do about it?
Yeah. You walk into a room for an audition, there's 20 people who look exactly like you, who are just as talented as you, who are all vying for the same part. You got butterflies in your stomach and your heart is pounding, but you have to somehow stay cool and calm and focused on the project and push those fears aside. Let's talk about
Exactly.
overcoming limiting beliefs. You know, if
Mm,
you, I'm a firm believer, you have to believe if you're going to achieve. Talk to us about
mm.
how we can overcome our limiting beliefs.
I think I mentioned earlier about changing the story.
Mhm.
Um, First of all, is knowing that the things you think and believe about yourself may not be true. We accept them as truth, but they may not be. And I would say one of the things you've got to do is find yourself a mantra that works for you. So a mantra is anything, how do you flip the idea that's being put down? How do you turn it around? At the end of the day, we have to fail sometimes in order to know how to succeed. Your failure is your greatest learning lesson in life. It teaches you you cannot you learn far more from a failure than you do from a success. When things are going fine, it's all nice. But when something goes wrong and you find a solution, so I think that's part of the beginning of switching around the negative beliefs is having, even if you have a quote you put on your wall that you look at every day, put your dreams, write them down, bring them to reality by starting to put them on paper. I know when I started the festival in England, it was a little, it was a napkin. I wrote something on a napkin as a friend's house, wrote it on a napkin, and a year later, it was coming to life. And it was just an idea I had in my head I wanted to do. I was working for the BBC. I wanted to do some of the work I was doing in the community, and it came to life. But I know that's the first thing. One of the first things is put it on paper. Don't keep it in your head. Switch those limiting beliefs around and take action. Because if you don't take action, if you don't make that first step, you'll never be able to get to the end of that, fulfill your journey.
Exactly. I think writing them down is a great
Yeah.
idea as well,
Mm.
because you'll also check it off your list at one point and realize you've accomplished that. And
Yeah.
that's a great, rewarding feeling and will motivate you to create more successful patterns in your life, right?
Mm. Yeah. Can I say, I think success, for me, we tend to think of success in monetary terms,
Mhm.
but there are so many, many other ways to define what success means to you. And I think we've all got to define that for ourselves. For one person, it may be money, but we've all been successful at something. From the minute we started to walk, we had to learn how to do that. We fell down, we got up and we walked again.
Mhm.
And I think it's really important to define what that success is, whether you're starting a new project, whether it's something that you want to achieve, a dream you have. You've got to, what does it mean to you? Doesn't matter what somebody else thinks, but in your heart, you don't have to tell anybody else either. I think another thing is not telling people too soon, because there's always somebody who's willing to talk you out of your idea when they know very little about it. So keep it to yourself until it's time to talk about it. Get it moving first and believing in it. It's like having your creations are like your children. You have to nurture them and get them moving when they're strong enough before you start letting them go out by themselves. So, yeah.
Exactly. There's no shortage of people out there who can tell you why you can't do something and why it's not a good
Mm,
idea. So
mm,
ignore those naysayers. Everybody who is successful in anything, whether it's a relationship, whether it's job, whether it's financial gain, has ignored the people that say, forget about it, don't try, she's out of your league,
mm.
whatever it is. There are a lot of naysayers out there. Ignore those voices, in my opinion. Talk to us about your book and how people can use it as an interactive guide to help them achieve their goals, whatever they may be.
Well, thanks for asking.
Sure.
I would say the book is part philosophy, part journal. So you have all the pages that give you all the encouragement that you need, and it asks you lots and lots of questions. Sometimes, if you think you have all the answers, then you're already, yeah, you're making a mistake. Questions open up lots more possibilities for you. When you think you know, you're going to find that you don't know. Um, so the book is full of questions. It's full of spaces to write in, but it also has lots of encouragement in there, lots of quotes, lots of philosophy for you to think about. It's built on life experience, so we don't have to learn everything ourselves. We can learn from other people. We are all in this together. We're all masterpieces, but we're all still a work in progress. And to remember that, yeah,
Absolutely. Talk to us about the Africaba School of
right.
Creativity.
Well, the Africaba, the festival I started in the UK, was called Africaba. We showcased the rich diversity of culture from Africa that's spread around the world. So we invited artists, art, music, theatre, dance, art, all kinds of things. So I wanted to broaden it a little bit more into personal development, self-development. The festival was a way for artists to showcase their work and to their own artistic development. And I think we all have a little artist inside of us that we can, we've got to mold our own life, right? So that's what it started from, really.
Yeah. Wonderful. Also, tell us more about the online workshop that complements the journal that you've created.
Okay, so I started that. I have some books I'd written sitting on my shelf for many, many years. Decided to bring it together. It was COVID, the start of COVID. It seemed like COVID was I mean, it's a year of crisis, but a lot of people started to find their creativity during that time. And I just decided to put it together. I think my father had passed away the year before. I came to the US to take care of them. So my own life had changed considerably. And I just found it was a way to share some of the ideas with other people. And online seemed to be a good way to do it, especially as people couldn't leave the house. Some people couldn't leave the house. So that's how that came about.
I think COVID was the best of times and the worst of times. Obviously, it
Mm,
was a
yeah.
season of
Hmm.
despair, but it was also a
Hmm.
season of reinvention where people realized they didn't
Yes.
necessarily need a 9 to 5 job, that they didn't need to necessarily have a boss or go into an office, that they could be entrepreneurs. So I think there was a lot of awakening that happened. Tell us what you hope readers walk
Absolutely.
away with after completing your journal.
I kind of mentioned it before. I think we are all potential masterpieces,
Mhm.
but we're still a work in progress. I think we shouldn't compare ourselves to other people because we are truly unique. No one has lived your life exactly the way you have, had the experiences you had, warts and all the bad things as well. And that informs us, that gives us so much more to be able to pass on to somebody else. But if we don't take a minute, time to stop, slow down. And I was saying that sometimes slow is fast. We can rush into things. We can not take our time to kind of do the work, the inner work of discovering who we are or who we. In fact, it's also part of that is letting go of who we think we are, so we can become the version of ourselves we don't know yet. So I would say that I think those are the first steps I think to success and to
Wonderful. Well, that
discover.
is
It's a
beautiful
process of
advice, beautiful
discovery.
sentiments.
Yeah,
Let me ask you this. What is
yeah.
your personal favorite exercise or prompt in your book?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. Oh my goodness, my personal favorite one. Well,
It
um,
doesn't have to be your very favorite. It can be one of your favorites. How about that?
yeah. I'm going to say it's in the beginning of the book where you have to start looking at your life and where you want to head with it. You look at so it takes you from the past to the present and into the future, and it asks questions to help you get to those places. I think that self discovery, I think, is a favorite part.
You
Yeah.
have to realize where you want to go before you can
Mm,
figure out how to get there. You know,
yeah.
it's as simple as that. You've got to realize you're planning a trip. You can't just say, I'm going on vacation. Where are you going? I don't know.
Yeah.
You
Right.
have to have a
Exactly.
destination in mind so you know whether you have to take a plane, an airplane, walk,
Mm,
bicycle, whatever it is. The same
mm,
thing's true with whatever goal you have in life. You have to know
mm.
what you want in order to figure out how you get there. I've often said to people, if you had a magic wand and could be anything or do anything you wanted, what would it be? And you know
Yes.
what you'd be
Yeah.
surprised at? A lot of people are completely
Don't know.
stumped by that.
Yeah.
They
We
have no
don't know.
idea.
Yeah. Exactly.
Any,
I think that's true. Yeah. I'd say that's true.
any more books on the horizon for you? Tell me about your writing career.
Well, to be honest, I have some I have a children's book that I'm writing now.
Mhm.
So here in Florida, we have lots of mango trees, and we call the mango harvest. And every time I go out there to pick up, we're so blessed to have a great abundance of mangoes. So it just makes me think I pick one and you smell that beautiful aroma. And it's a children's book, so that's what's my next thing. And again,
Awesome.
it's a way for them to, you know, there's always a story behind it. So the first one was called the Griot and the Wisdom Tribe, and that was again a legacy from the festival. Um, and another legacy was the radio show, which again showcased the music. It was very popular. Those are a couple of things I'm working on right now. Next book, and it's all about personal development, and this one is for children, and of course presented to them in a really colorful and delightful way.
Wonderful, wonderful. We're looking forward to your next releases, and we're looking forward
Yes,
to reading this book for the folks at home. This book is wonderful. Why don't you create your best year ever? Your best year yet. This is the guide
yes.
to do it. It's called How to Create Your Most Successful Year Ever. It is an inspiring tool for turning your dreams into powerful, purposeful action. Gwyneth, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you, Logan. Much appreciated.
I appreciate your time, your insight, and your wisdom. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford for GBN. So long for now.